I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Uh, can you give our viewers a overview of the Gullah Geechee culture and the role as the executive director of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor?
Absolutely. So, Gullah Geechee people, my people, I'm Gullah Geechee. I'm very proud of it. We are the people that have been historically um, with placed or have been placed within the Gullah Geechee corridor because of their expertise, knowledge of growing, cultivating rice, being brought over from West and Central Africa. And we settled traditionally in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida in this area historically now called the Gullah Geechee corridor, but where rice fields were built by our ancestors. So we are people that have taken those that expertise, knowledge, the skill sets, the science, the engineering, and brought over all of these tools with us to America to bring immense wealth to America. To America. And also, we brought over a lot of other knowledge with us. We brought up our foodways, our spirituality, and traditional practices within our cultural traditions in West and Central Africa. We brought over some of our language retentions and melding that within English and making the Gullah language. We brought over arts and crafts, beautiful arts and crafts, like the Gullah sweetgrass basket that you see right here behind me. And then also things like our amazing cuisine that is all centered on rice and rice cultivation. What we do within the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor is to uplift and sustain the stories of our people. And the Gullah Geechee Corridor was designated by an act of Congress in 2006. We were designated a National Heritage Area, and we celebrate and preserve, educate the public on what it is to be Gullah Geechee and our deep, deep African retentions to Africa. And as I stated earlier, we have this corridor, this National Heritage Area that extends 12,000 square miles, about 27 counties, and in 4 states: North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia and Florida. And so our mission really is just to be able to instill and nurture pride within our people and to help others understand the significance of who we are historically, who we are culturally, and that we are an ever evolving culture. We want to be able to preserve our land, our language, and all of our cultural assets. And we also want to be able to promote economic development. We also want to be able, I'm so sorry, we want to help sustain and develop economic development and independence among our people. And then also, again, to educate the general public on who we are and the importance of our people. So those are our goals. That's our mission. And we have these areas of focus that we feel are really important to put within every program presentation that we have. And those areas are education, economic development, and documentation and preservation. And you need all of these things to be able to uplift and sustain the cultural ways of the Gullah Geechee people. So I'm really proud to be able to serve as the executive director in this role for my people. It's a dream job for me. I get to do everything that I love regarding history, art, and culture, and uplift my people at the same time. Allow them to provide opportunities actually for them to have a platform to be able to share what it is that they love and do. For example, our language is something that's very significant. You don't hear it right now, but I'll try to share a little bit with you at the end of our conversation.
Yeah, I spent
Okay.
3 years active duty. I had the opportunity to go down to West Africa, so I had a brief introduction of the connection between blacks from West Africa and blacks in the United States. Can you talk about the similarities of West African culture that mirror blacks in the USS, in particular the Low Country?
Absolutely, Glenn. There's multiple ways that we are similar. When I took our trip over to Sierra Leone and to even East Africa to Rwanda, you can see I was able to witness actually our culture unfold right before my very eyes. We have always been told that we have these connections in West, in Central, and even all of the continent of Africa. But then at that time, I was able to actually witness it unfold, this happening. So, number one, the way that we were greeted, the language, we're melding more than 5,000 West African tribal languages together, all the way from Senegal down to Angola, all the way into Mali, some even into the Congo. And we're melding this with English. And so in some cases, when it's an English speaking country, we can understand some of the talk. That, like, for example, in Sierra Leone, they speak Creole, Krio, and we were able to understand each other really well without much of interpretation or a translator happening. Another thing that's very similar is rice. Rice is life in Africa, and especially West Africa, and then also here within the Gullah Geechee corridor. Sometimes when I was younger, I would be referred to as a rice-eating Geechee. Not always not always the most positive term to call someone, because as I was growing up in the 1970s, Geechee was a very pejorative, negative term, and I'm sure you've heard of it, and more so than Gullah. And with you being stationed and doing your service within this area, I'm sure you heard of the word Geechee and maybe even come across some Geechee speakers. And what you hear right now is not that. I've had to assimilate in a strong way. But so getting back to rice, rice is life here in the Gullah Geechee corridor. You have not eaten unless you've had rice on your plate. And that's the same in West Africa, and especially Sierra Leone. They will ask you if you've eaten yet. And you would have to say no, even if you had pancakes, grits, fish, pineapple, papaya on your plate. If you did not have rice, you have not eaten yet. And true, it's so true. And then also the way we live in a communal setting, where it takes a village to raise the child. You see this, of course, unfold beautifully and masterfully on the continent and in West Africa. You go within the village settings and you're welcomed by the beautiful people that are there. And you see all of these children just all over the place that are coming to welcome you also. But each of them are being cared for and looked after by even the eldest person in the village. That's the same here within the Low Country, within the Gullah Geechee corridor. You go into historic Gullah neighborhoods and communities, and you will see children being cared for and loved and nurtured within a Gullah community. We live on land some of us live on land called heiress property. And that means that there are several people within the family that own that land. I grew up on heiress property, and right now, there are 3 family members that belong to my family that live on our land. We have 20 acres of land. It was a farming community. It still is a farming and fishing community. We are no longer working the land. However, we still believe that the land, it's really important for family to preserve and to continue owning that land for generations to come. Another way that we are connected are through our art forms. I mentioned earlier that we have these beautiful baskets called
gorgeous.
Sweetgrass baskets. Isn't that beautiful?
That is beautiful.
And if you can see the bottom, you can see the center dark coil. So I call this our connections to West and Central Africa, and even all of the continent, the circle unbroken. And this is one example of how we as Gullah Geechee people in the United States have kept culture intact. There are many different types of baskets within West Africa. Sierra Leone has the shukublai. Senegal has a beautiful coiled basket that looks just like this. And then also in East Africa, you have the Rwandese baskets that are there, and all of them begin with that coil, that circled coil, and connected, row after row upon row. And this art form really does speak beautifully to how we've stayed connected, even without knowing sometimes where we come from within the continent. For example, many of us have lost our connections and understanding of where we come from because of enslavement. Those ties have been hidden from us, taken from us, broken. All of those connections have been broken. But the sweetgrass basket and many of the baskets in Africa, it is evident that we have this very similar art form, if not identical, using some of the same materials. Another thing that I want to talk about is our connection to the earth and to the land and the water. All of these natural things are very important within the continent. And then we rely on them for sustenance. We rely on them for economic development and for commerce. And so living off the land and the water is the same here in the United States along the Gullah Geechee corridor, because we are still, even though we're an ever evolving culture, we still rely on our land and our water for sustenance and for economic development. I can go on and on, Glenn. There's many connections that we have. And I invite you and everyone to be able to come and learn about some of them. And you'll have to visit our website at gullahgeecheecorridor.org and find out ways that you can discover it all in our corridor.
I could talk to you forever. And look, we'll have to continue this conversation because you're
Sure.
probably a walking encyclopedia when it comes to the Gullah history and culture. With gentrification being part of communities around the country, what is the significance, in your own words, of preserving the Gullah Geechee culture?
Well, as you can hear in my voice, you do not hear a hint of Gullah or Geechee speech. I have been made to feel ashamed of my language, and I've had to assimilate very strongly out of shame. When I would speak my first and only language of Gullah, I would be laughed at. And that would break my heart. It would hurt me, because sometimes it was even coming from African American Black people on the mainland, and where they had already assimilated much earlier in different ways. People in the Sea Islands along the coast of the Gullah Geechee corridor, many of us have not had that assimilation as strong as those who are on the mainland, although they are still Gullah Geechee. Absolutely. Gentrification has changed a lot of what and how we function as a people. Historic Gullah neighborhoods and communities, we've always been intact. And when I was growing up on St. Helena Island, my home, it was pretty much 95 to 98% African American, Black, Gullah Geechee people living in those communities. Then you would have people that are coming outside of the community that see the beautiful landscapes and waterways of our corridor and our island. And they meet the people and they fall in love with the people and they want to move there because of the beauty of the landscape. And sometimes when they move here, they change the very nature of what attracted them here in the first place. That is bringing in irresponsible development to the area that is not responsible to the culture, the landscape, the people, and the environment. And they start to build things that just are not, may not be good. It may be good economically for them, but doesn't invite the Gullah Geechee people to be able to participate with that wealth, with that development of wealth. Oftentimes, no. And then the property tax will go up significantly in many areas, which forces some Gullah Geechee people to retreat to other areas that are more affordable. And then we also have just people that are loving the beautiful subtropical climate here. And as you can see, North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida, that Gullah Geechee corridor is only 30 miles inland. It has prime real estate, and many of the vacation resorts are along this corridor. With that, you just have an influx of people that are coming and staying and making people, our Gullah Geechee people, kind of, I want to say, have to move inland to more affordable areas sometimes. Not all Gullah Geechee people are lower economic develop, at a lower economic level. No, there are many that are striving and thriving, but gentrification is very strong. You can see this on Hilton Head Island, where you would go there and would never ever notice that there would be a Gullah Geechee community unless you went on a tour. You can see this in Charleston, South Carolina. You can see in Savannah, Georgia, in Jacksonville, Florida. You can see it in Wilmington, North Carolina. We are holding on for dear life to preserve our culture that is so tied to our ancestral land.
So one of my first duty stations in the military, I went to boot camp in A school in San Diego, and my first duty station was in Charleston, South Carolina. And coming from Greenville, didn't have opportunity to travel in high school, so California was my first opportunity to move outside of my community. When I arrived in Charleston, I think it was North Charleston, I noticed the different dialect, and when I was informed that they're speaking the Geechee language, I'd love to hear you just have a conversation in the Gullah Geechee dialect for our audience,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
if you will.
I will do that. And I love that you spoke of Charleston and North Charleston, because all along the corridor, we have the Gullah and Geechee language. However, when you go to different communities, it might sound a little bit different. You might yeti something a little different when you hear it, or when you yeti it. Yeti means to hear. And Charleston speech, Gullah speech, is one of the strongest. But I can tell and differentiate between a Charleston Gullah speaker and someone from St. Helena Island, someone from Jacksonville, Florida. My ear tunes in a little bit better because I am a Gullah speaker, but I can definitely identify Charleston Gullah speaker. So, and when people look at me and ask me where I'm from, they may not honestly believe that I come from a Gullah community on St. Helena Island, and because of the way I speak. So when I was talking as a young person, I was so strong within my Gullah accent that people would laugh at me. So that made me feel less than. It made me feel as if they thought I was uneducated. And so I started to change my speech, unfortunately. Now I am very intentional about who I speak with. When I get around my family, my community, the Gullah language comes out more. Maybe when I get a little heightened in excitement, the language will come out more. And definitely we have this Bible that Gullah speakers, linguists work with the American Bible Society. Our Gullah speakers, they all work together to translate the New Testament of the Bible from English to Gullah. And I've been looking at that just to help me regain my fluency. I want to be so strong within my language again that English is my second language. So with that being said, I want to say, I glad for see on it today, and I hope to see on us soon in the land of Gullah Geechee. I glad for see on it today, and I hope to see on us soon in the land of Gullah Geechee. So Gullah and Geechee is Gullah and Geechee. Gullah is a tribe of people. Geechee is a tribe of people. However, those are just two tribes that make up the Gullah Geechee people. You have every tribe within West and Central Africa represented within Gullah Geechee people. For example, just me alone, I have a mixture of 12 different African countries within my African ancestry. You can look at me and see
Oh
that I have
man.
more. You can look at me and see that I have more than just African ancestry. My mother is Irish and German, Scots Irish, German, and British Wales American, a white American. And my father's all Gullah Geechee and also native Cherokee tribe. And so I want to try to name all of them. I don't know if I can, but my countries are Senegal, Mali, Guinea-Bissau, Cote d'Ivoire, Sierra Leone, Togo, Benin, Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Congo. And I feel like I'm missing out a couple because I didn't count them on my fingers, but there are 12. And then also Native American Cherokee and my beautiful mother, adding to the mixture, adding some of that European into my ancestry as well. I'm really proud to be here and happy to be here to be able to talk about my culture and my language. And I just want to say, tanky, tanky. That means thank you.
Well, Miss Smalls, thank you for educating and inspiring the entire community and continuing to do the great work that will pass along to future generations. For anyone that's looking to read more about Vitoria Smalls, click on blackhistoryusa.com. Again, we'd like to say thank you on behalf of Black History USA. We would like to present you with our 2022 I Am Black History USA Community Award.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And I'm so honored. And thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That is a gorgeous award and such an amazing honor. I am Black History. Wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Continue to
What
do
an
your
honor.
great work. Thank you.
Thank you.